session for July 17th, 6 p.m. meeting. Public input pertaining to agenda items. Are there any questions, comments? Moving on to old business, the airport timber sale update.
Okay, we had the bid opening, or supposed bid opening last week for the timber sale at the airport. We received no bids whatsoever. At that point, we just kind of tabled it temporarily. I wanted to discuss it with council a little bit. According to DCNR, at this point, we can just call some people up and have them, if they're interested, have them come in and give a quote. We can do pretty much anything we want as long as we comply with the DCNR regulations. One option that I thought I would bring to you, if we want to get more money out of the timber, because it has to be taken out of the woods by horses, we could literally contract someone just to cut the timber, bring it to the edge of the woods. Then we could, as a city, take our loader with a grapple and move it to the south end of the runway to a landing, and then sell the timber to a timber buyer. That way we would definitely make more money. We would sell the timber probably per load, or however we work that out, to someone who has 10 horses. There's lots of those out around the Spartansburg area. So I just wanted to know where you wanted to go with that. Another option is we could put it back up, we can advertise it and rebid it, and try to get bids again. Probably costs us, I don't know, $200 or $300 to advertise, depending on where we advertise. Those are really our options. And DCNR doesn't care what option we pick.
Keith?
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to maybe throw it back out there and see if we don't get a second bite on it. I say that because I certainly don't want to deny anybody the opportunity to get that contract. And if that fails, then I think maybe we could look at Public Works doing their thing. They're busy enough. They don't need any more of a load, so I think maybe I would take a second crack at advertising.
Agree with that.
Just one thought.
Yeah. Dawn?
Well, just for clarification, if I remember right, at least a third, if not half of that timber that's out there is ash, and it's already infected with the emerald borer. Is that correct?
Correct. It's actually more than that. It's probably at least 2/3.
2/3. So there isn't a whole lot of value there, as some may think. So, anyways.
And that's one reason we're having trouble getting bidders. It's not worth a whole lot, but we need to get it out of there, obviously, because it's going to be worth absolutely zero if we wait much longer. Is there any area in particular you would like us to advertise it in? We put it in the area shopper, Titusville, and Titusville in the area shopper. Would you like us to reach out to, the Dairy or the Meadville Trib or anything like that? Maybe go a little different area?
We could try that, but what would be your cycle time for return of bids?
Well, we can pick. We like to give people opportunities, so we usually allow at least 10 days.
So that would still allow us, if we needed to go another route, to have it completed this year?
I would hope before the wet season. I would hope to have that by fall.
Whatever you think's best.
Yeah, what are your
I
thoughts?
guess my question is, would the delay on you a situation where you're fighting time to get it done?
That'd be my question.
If it would do what, Bill? I'm sorry.
If the delay in opening up the bidding process again will run you into the wet season and not be able to complete this year?
Well, assuming we have a normal fall, I would say no. But if we happen to come in and have a wet fall, then definitely yes.
And the reason for the horses is because there's a little stream bed there, and DCNR doesn't want us to use machinery as such.
I guess I'd be inclined to leave it up to you, but I'd go ahead and tackle it and get it out of there. If it were me.
I say get the Amish in there and get it down and to the edge. So you're 50-50, so it's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're putting it on to you, Larry. Okay, the 2018 CDBG discussion.
Okay, as you know, everyone knows we had a hearing last month on how to spend the 2018 CDBG money. We asked for input from the audience. No one gave any input whatsoever. So now I'm coming back to council. The amount we got to notice the amount is increased. And instead of getting 269, I think is what it was last time, we now get 296. So that's a nice increase. Just looking for any ideas that city council would have on what projects to spend that money on.
Keith, last year, you weren't here, but we brought it to council that we thought it would be a good idea maybe to put the monies towards a walking bridge over where Perry Street Bridge is. And I know they're in need of that over there. So that's a possibility.
Okay.
I have not completed some research on that. Yeah, I'd like to bring it back to council.
We have a little bit of time. We need to have the application filled out by November. And naturally, we need to know ahead of that so we can make out the application.
We have to have one more public hearing.
Gotcha.
Larry, is there any other big ticket items that we need to know about that are out there?
Well, I mean, there's always the blight issue.
Yeah.
That's always an ongoing thing. There's, of course, the bridge seems to be the most popular, what people seem to want, to have an access, at least the walk bridge to access that. But I'm certainly more than happy to listen to any ideas. We make up a list. We'll take those and see what qualifies, because naturally it has to qualify for the grant money. And then we can come back and decide which of the projects. After the next hearing, there will be another hearing, where the public will have another opportunity to give input on anything that they would like to see that money used for. That qualifies for the grant.
Comments or questions? Bill?
This money would be released next year, right?
Yeah, we would actually get this money in the fall of 2019.
Okay, moving on to the Plickett subdivision.
As you can see in your packet there, this individual owned basically a long, narrow strip of land with two separate houses on it. They wanted to subdivide, which they got the variance to do that, and separate those properties, I'm assuming, to sell them individually.
That's a good problem.
Okay, we good with that?
Guess it's also fair to note that they, for all intents and purposes, have complied with all of Crawford County's recommendations on the plat, and I guess I don't see any good reason to hold them up.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Bill. The resolution number 6 of 2018, the sale of surplus city property.
If you open up your packet towards the back there, you'll see some pictures of a couple of pumps. If for those of you who have been on here a while, you recall back in 2011, we had an issue where we replaced a pump with a different brand. It did not work out. It wouldn't produce the amount of gallons per hour that we required. It's supposed to pump 1,600. The pump would only pump 1,100. We then we ended up filing suit against the company. We won the suit. They came in and replaced the pump again, and the second pump only ran for a month, still wouldn't produce. So we ended up getting basically reimbursed for that. We put in another pump like the original one, which is a Peerless pump. These two pumps have been sitting down there since 2011. One of them doesn't have, it has just hours. The other one probably has a year's running. But I'd like to sell those and get the money back in-house so that we can buy whatever. Waterworks would love to see a new lawnmower. Theirs is about worn out. If we could get enough money to do that, or even towards that, that would be fantastic. These are just sitting down there and of no use. We can't even use them.
If I remember correctly, the design was sold to us. This is a single-stage pump, and the pump that we had before was a dual-stage pump. So they thought the single-stage could take and produce enough head water for what, Troy Street or like that.
Well, these would be our are main pumps, so they pump water to the entire city.
Right.
Only one. The other ones are fine. We have 3 out there.
Right, but there was something as a design flaw that did not meet the specifications, if I remember correctly. As you
Yeah,
said.
there was, like I say, there was a whole legal issue. We ended up, they didn't want anything back when it was all settled, so we have these 2.
I remember the agreement that we had with them, and I think Rich was involved with that.
The Peerless has worked fine since, and you know, we couldn't even really stick these in as a backup. They're just, it takes a whole different modification of flanges. It's a very expensive venture, and to do that knowing these don't work right for our use. Now, if someone had a smaller, you know, smaller pipeline or whatever, they would work just fine.
They're functional, but they wouldn't meet the specifications we asked.
Right. So, you know, I've asked, I didn't put any value on these, as you can see, because honestly, I have no idea. We have asked some of the salespeople to ask around and get their opinion of what they feel that these pumps would be worth as a used unit on the market. Before we would vote, I would try to have some kind of a number back from them.
Sure.
But I wanted to get it out there, so if they did find a buyer for these things, at least we have permission to move forward and to sell them.
Well, it'll help us recover some of what we lost during that whole transition.
Yeah, right.
Are we good?
I'm fine.
Okay. Moving on to public input. It's 5 minutes per individual speaker with a timeline limit of 30 minutes per 30 minutes. City taxpayers only.
Yeah, so you gonna speak?
Okay, council? All right, I want to thank everybody for coming. We'll see you next week. Same time, same station. I didn't give you notice.
That's what, yeah.
Same map.
Is that it?